Well, this is not a great development. Apple has removed Glenn Beck's podcast from the Apple Podcasts app. So you go into your Apple Podcasts app right now on your iPhone, on your MacBook, and his podcast, which was on the charts, he always ranked on the charts, which is not surprising given how popular his radio show is. It's gone. It's completely gone. And it's not exactly a mystery because Apple sent him a message notifying him that they were removing his podcast. This is, if we could bring this up on the screen, this is what he shared on X. This is element 1B. This is the message from Apple they sent to Glenn Beck notifying him that his podcast would be removed. It just says, hello, we found an issue with your show, the Glenn Beck program, which must be resolved before it's available on Apple Podcasts. And then it says again, your show has been removed from Apple Podcasts, signed the Apple Podcasts team. And this is what Glenn Beck said when he released a video saying, okay, well, we followed their instructions and clicked on a link that was going to tell us what this problem was with our show. And this is what they found. Take a listen.
Hey, we're just sitting here in my office and we're discussing something that we just saw here. This is from Apple. We found an issue with your show, the Glenn Beck program, which must be resolved before it's available on Apple Podcasts. Your show's been removed from Apple Podcast from the Apple Podcast team. They sent us a link and said for more details, go to the link, and the link only says your show has been removed from Apple Podcasts. Well, we got that one, dummy. I mean, I cannot imagine what they're basing this one on. I mean, have we even had strikes? Nothing, right? This is crazy. You need to please retweet this and start a campaign to Apple to say, put the podcast back on. This is absolutely freedom of speech. There's nothing that we have said that would warrant any removal. Again, it's probably just a glitch, but it's amazing how we have to have a whole bunch of people point out the glitch before the glitch is found and it's put back. Man, this is huge.
It is huge. I think a lot of us expect to be censored on YouTube. A lot of us expect to be censored on Facebook. A lot of us expected to be censored on Twitter back when it was Twitter before Elon Musk bought it. We expect to be censored on different platforms, but Apple has been one that, frankly, a lot of us have relied on as being a platform of free speech. They never said it, but they didn't have a censorship regime. A lot of our shows have been safe on there. Oftentimes when we have to censor things on YouTube, the censor-free version of the show we put on audio on Apple Podcasts. So it's jarring to see this happening to Glenn Beck. Like, of all people, Glenn Beck, what on earth did he say that all of us aren't saying that would warrant him being kicked off this platform? I mean, I hope he's right. He was mocking the fact that, oh, maybe this is a glitch. Hopefully they send him an email and say this was just an error. We've restored it. Forget about it. I hope that happens. But if it happens, it's still chilling. Because if that happens, it's only because so many of us spoke out in Glenn's defense and spoke out against Apple's censorship. It's not because they sent him that email by mistake. It's because they didn't anticipate the level of reaction that they would get from people. But he's right. It is big. It's almost to the point of election interference, right? Glenn talks about issues like the Biden family and ESG and the World Economic Forum and monetary policy, things that he challenges globalists. And specifically, he goes after Hunter Biden's criminal activities. And that makes a difference. We know that makes a difference in the outcome of an election. We know from 2020, we know that poll that Democrats said, 17% of Democrats who voted for Biden said that they would have reconsidered their vote had they known the Hunter Biden laptop was real. Of course, talking about Hunter Biden makes a difference. So how is this not election interference if you're shutting down a conservative podcast and not shutting down the liberal podcast counterpart? You are swaying the election in one way or the other. One of the things that the censorship regime does, and you can tell I feel very strongly about this because it's not only my livelihood, it's not only what I do, it's our ability to be part of the self-governance of our country. If we're not allowed to speak, if we're going to be criminalized like Trump for questioning fishy activities during a presidential election, if we are going to be banned from one of the biggest podcast applications in the world because of what? Because you're criticizing the regime, because you're blaming the globalists for their controlling activities, because you're criticizing Biden, then we are not going to be active participants in the self-governance of our country. It's going to devolve into tyranny. And I don't say this to be hyperbolic. I say this because we are experiencing this happening. And the way that the censorship regime works is they target people specifically that they think the rest of the conservative movement or Republican Party won't defend. So the strategy the censorship regime has used in the past, which I assume that they're using again because it has worked for them in the past, is they choose individuals to cancel or to deplatform that they think the rest of the conservative movement or the Republican Party won't defend. So the best example of this is Alex Jones. Alex Jones was banned from Twitter completely because many conservatives disagreed with what Alex Jones was saying at the time. This was at the time that he was talking about Sandy Hook and pretending that it was, or lying about it, saying that it was some kind of false flag attack, that it was done by the government or that these were actors, some abhorrent thing that he was saying, which most of us agreed was an abhorrent thing. And Twitter used that as a reason to ban him because they knew that you and I would not necessarily want to come to his defense because it would seem like we were defending the substance of what he said versus just defending his right to say it. Because it is nuanced, that's free speech. Now, there were some of us, myself included, who did come to Alex Jones's defense, not based on the substance of what he was saying, but based on his right to say abhorrent things. And this strategy that they've used to pick off the more extreme voices or the fringe characters, the fringe commentators, is their effort to move the Overton window. If they can manage to ban Alex Jones, if they could manage to ban Laura Loomer, if they could manage to ban Milo Yiannopoulos, if they could manage to ban even Andrew Tate, right? A lot of us heard about Andrew Tate for the first time about a year and a half ago when Twitter banned Andrew Tate for some opinion that he had about the Me Too movement or accusing women of being partially to blame when they were sexually assaulted or some offensive opinion of his. And a lot of conservatives were like, wow, do I defend this guy? Like, because he has a right to say this, or is it going to sound like I'm defending what he said? And so a lot of conservatives stayed quiet. But this is what the censorship regime does. They pick off the people expressing more extreme opinions, hoping that the rest of us will stay quiet because we don't want to be associated with the opinion itself. And unfortunately, it's worked really well in the past. Now, I'm not lumping Glenn Beck in with Alex Jones. I'm not comparing Glenn Beck to Milo Yiannopoulos and certainly not to Andrew Tate. But the perception that the left wants you to have of Glenn Beck is they want to pretend or portray him as a conspiracy theorist. Now, I don't think he's a conspiracy theorist. I think his book that he wrote with Justin Haskins, The Great Reset, is one of the most important books that's been written probably in the last decade.
Hi guys, it's Liz Wheeler. Don't forget to watch my show, The Liz Wheeler Show, every night at 7 p.m. on the First TV. You can download the free First TV app, or you can visit thefirsttv.com/Liz and start watching today.